Okay. Thank you very much. No. Well, how many of you have been to a previous OMVNA council candidate forum? Look at that. They come back because they love it. Let me do something just a little bit different. I would like to ask anyone who would care to volunteer, tell us what attributes you look for in a council candidate. What is it that you're looking for tonight from these 8 people? Really? You have no idea? Jeff?
Engaged intelligence.
All right. Anything else? And Paul?
A good sense of future vision for the city of Mountain View.
Okay. Yes?
Do things for the city that will help the city, different little project things to enhance the livability of the city.
Okay. And you raised your hand?
Integrity.
Okay.
Believes in and wants to do something about global warming.
Okay. Yes?
Servant leadership.
All right. This. I hope nobody's leaving. Okay, good. What else? Yes.
Concerned with open space and our parks and our trees.
Okay, good. I think that's one more, Paul.
Yes, certainly some leadership in the fiscal fiduciary responsibilities as we face economic questionable times.
Okay, good. So our basic format for these events is to give the candidates an opportunity to introduce themselves and then to gather questions from you on the 3x5 cards that were outside. Ken, could you perhaps grab any remaining 3x5 cards as well as the straw poll and bring them in case anybody doesn't have any? So write one question per card in your best, clearest printing so that I can read it up here in this dim light. We'll gather the questions after the introductory statements, and we'll look for commonalities. So questions that get asked by a lot of people will float to the top, and questions that are about Old Mountain View will float to the top. We probably won't have a chance to go through all the questions. Typically, we get 8 to 10 asked. And we also have something tonight that's unusual. Ken asked the candidates who have been through many forums like this over the past few weeks if they would like to contribute a question for one specific candidate. Presumably they're probing for weaknesses here. I'm not quite sure. And every candidate was presented with at least one question. Some got as many as 4. And I've sort of scratched that down. So we do have one question for each candidate from another candidate. We don't know which candidate submitted it. They may not be as good a questions as the one you're about to ask. So we'll see how we use that new possibility. If we do ask questions of the candidates from the candidates, everybody will get one question. We'll also have a closing statement. And our goal is to have you out of here, well, to close the meeting by 9 o'clock. But you're welcome to stay and talk to the candidates as long as they're willing to stay and talk to you. And this being City Hall, the place they want to come to work, they're probably willing to spend a few more minutes out in the lobby. Any questions about our format? Does anybody need a card or a pen or a straw poll, 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper? Just raise your hand. And if you're raising your hand for a question, wave it back and forth. If you're raising it for a card, just hold it steady and it will come to you.
Bruce, I have a question.
Yep.
The questions you ask candidates, will other candidates get a chance to answer that question, or is it just a one-shot answer?
The questions from the candidates are a one-shot.
Okay.
Yep. Now, the straw poll is a unique part of our event. We've used it, I think, for the last 3 times around, or the last 2 times at least. And it's your ballot. It gives you a chance to leave here tonight having said who you support, who you don't support, but most importantly, why you support or don't support the candidates. This feedback will go to them privately. So if you have a comment about a candidate, whether it's good or bad, it will only go to that candidate. And your name won't be on it. They'll also see the results of the vote. So the straw poll will tell the candidates who's ahead amongst the people in this room. And I think this is a very good piece of developmental feedback for anybody running for office. And when I ran for city council, I wished I had had this kind of feedback in August. mid-October is a little late in the game. But we do what we can with the tools we have. Okay. Are we pretty much set here? Okay, so get your one question per card, legibly printed. You don't have to do it yet. We've got 16 minutes to go through the sequence of our candidates. So let me start to the left. Diana, I have a little kitchen timer in my pocket, which I'm now about to set for 2 minutes. And please tell us about yourself, and when the timer goes off, you'll hear a little bit of beeping.
Good evening. My name is Diana Wang, and it's really my pleasure to sit here and talk with everybody from Old Mountain View area. I know Mountain View for a long time. Ever since I moved to the Bay Area 25 years ago, I know this area. Because every time you pass by 101, you see the big canyon here. That's the first time I told myself that I have to move to this city. So finally, I did. After raising 5 kids of my siblings because they lose their father, and then I became very mature and very independent. So finally, I made my decision to move to this city, and I meet a lot of good friends. And I enjoy my wonderful life, and I got my degree from Oregon as a computer science. So I worked here for as a senior programmer for a couple of years, and finally I become a real estate agent, and that's why I'm familiar with the area so much. I know a lot of people, and I love the city. I have passion to serve people. Thank you.
Thank you very much. John, would you please go next?
Okay, well, I get the honor of being the longest time resident of this distinguished group up here. I've been here for 50 years. And when someone mentioned about the future vision of Mountain View, I've seen Mountain View go from agricultural all the way to the high-tech center now as it is. But I wanted to go over a couple items I have a brochure out there that covers some of the main stuff. But one thing I wanted to point out to you is somebody was mentioning leadership and integrity. I have not taken any financial support or endorsements from any special interest groups. I'm here to represent you. Now, you may think, okay, well, some of the groups are pretty distinguished. But think about it. They have a goal that may not be along with ours. In Mountain View, the council person has to be independent. So I didn't get any endorsements from labor unions, housing units, or developers. So I want to put that on the table. So when I talk to you, I have no one who's looking over my shoulder to make sure I follow them. Another thing I wanted to point out to you, again, a lot of my bio information is in my ads and in my brochure, is that somebody mentioned the financial background or financial leadership. As a business owner in town, I negotiate every day, and that's one of the big things the city council people will be doing is negotiating. I deal with vendors, I deal with governments, I deal with employees. And with my background, with a degree from business from Berkeley and a CPA training, I'm one of the only qualified ones that really can look at the numbers, look at the reports, look at accounting reports, and know what I'm looking at and can distinguish it and interpret it. So that's something that I bring to the table. Long-term resident, strong financial background, common sense. Thank you.
Thank you very much, John. Alicia.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. First, I do want to say that I saw your new website today. It looks great. Thank you. And second of all, in regards to the straw poll that you mentioned earlier, that was very helpful to me as a candidate 2 years ago. And it is interesting the feedback that I did get, and it did help me mold my campaign this time around. And the first thing was to make sure that people understood that though I appreciate that you thought I looked 10 years younger than I am, I'm really not. I am in my 30s, I promise. My service on the Human Relations Commission here since 2001, 2002 has been one of the best experiences I've had. I didn't go into it with the thought of becoming a politician or becoming on council one day. I just really wanted to be in an organization, in a group that really cared about the community on a broad scale. And that's why I've been on the HRC for as long as I've had. There are many people that said, why didn't you move on to other groups? And honestly, my answer was I like working with the community as a whole. I don't want to work on one specific thing. But I think all of you can also agree that with every other land use, planning, anything else that happens in the city, there's always a human relations element. And you should also have someone who represents that human relations element on council, and that's